When we use a computer or smartphone, we see a tiny part of what is going on. In the background, there are thousands of bits of information being processed, and our brains work in a similar way. What we process consciously is only a very small part of the information we receive. Much of the rest, about 11 million pieces of information a second, is handled by our unconscious mind, without us even realizing it's happening. One reason the unconscious mind can process so much information so quickly is because it uses things like patterns to make shortcuts. So if something looks like it fits in, or pattern matches things we have seen before, then the unconscious mind can group, categorize, and process the information together. We learn these patterns and shortcuts from our own past experiences, from others' experiences through stories, from social and cultural norms, and the way things are represented in the media. People are sometimes typecast, or stereotyped, according to the way they look and sound. They're often based on the way a person appears. It could be based on their age, the way they dress, their perceived gender or race. Even things like their accent and the way they speak can be defining points of difference. These unconscious influences can lead to poor or biased decision making. And here's an example. A study asked staff in science faculty to review and rate a job application. Some of the staff received the application with a female first name, and some with a male first name, but apart from that, the applications were identical. This is what they found. The male candidate was rated as better qualified, more likely to be hired, be offered a higher starting salary, and be given better development opportunities. The assessments were carried out by both men and women, and the bias was independent of their gender, scientific discipline, and age, which led the researchers to the conclusion that the bias was unintentional and generated from widespread cultural stereotypes rather than a conscious intention to harm women. So what can be done to remove or diminish these biases from the decision-making process? Here are some examples of what organizations are doing. Certain words tend to be associated with different genders. Gender bias in systems. Look at these two phrases from a job description. Skill number 1. Your job is to develop a killer mobile application. Skill number 2. You will work with vendors to nurture existing partnerships. In these examples, killer is seen as male-coded and nurture as female-coded. In other words, the suggestion is that there's a subtle message as to which gender the employer is looking for. You can check for gender coding online to make sure that language, especially in things like job advertisements, avoids any of these subtlety biased messages.